We go through the top 5 defensive free agent fits for the Chicago Bears next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
Yeah, she's got some nice
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Joining me today is my partner in crime, Mr. Johnny PayPal. We are going through our top 5 defensive free agents just to kind of entertain you over the bye week. Hopefully, all the teams that we need to win lose, or all the teams we need to lose, and all the teams we need to win. I'm really excited just to watch some football this weekend. That's what I'm pumped about. But PayPal, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good, Fred. Yeah, another, after hopefully you all listen to our offense, our top 5. So now here's our defensive top 5. And I don't know which one I'm more excited for. This one don't have any Packers on this list, unfortunately.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, I know.
Good.
Shocker. So, yeah, we're not just getting the Green Bay Packers just remade.
Like PayPal said, though, make sure to check that out. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to rate 5 stars. And also, if you're a sports bettor, use promo code UNBEARABLE to get 125% back on your first deposit on betus.com. Use promo code UNBEARABLE. But PayPal, this was seriously, to me, this was hard. So I'm actually I'm looking forward to it because we were talking about this pre-show. This is where we're spending our money. This is when, because the offense is pretty good. Obviously, you want good players on offense, and it doesn't mean don't spend money on offense. It's fine. It means that there's a lot of people like this defense is terrible. You need to buy a new defense and draft some players. This needs to be overhauled. Top 5 is not going to cut it. Let's just be frank here.
Yeah, I think what this team has done a really good job of, especially in this defense, you can see who would be really good backups.
Yeah.
We see on the defensive line, we see that, some of our secondary players and even our linebackers are like, wow, that guy would be a good backup. Like he'd be good to have in there once in a while, but not a starter where he's playing 50% of this plus snaps,
Oh, for sure. No, I agree with you there. So let's get this show on the road. Do you want to start off with your number 1?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Right.
I like to see how surprised you are, every single time.
I am because I have no idea what to expect. And I don't even know what my list is going to be. I am staring at my list right now. I have 4 people with question marks. I have 6 people in my top 5. I am a mess with this. I am just freestyling this episode. So buy me some time. Who is your number 1, PayPal?
Yeah, Brad, I thought this one, and that's the hard thing. It was these 2 guys I was just really, really going at. But my number 1, we need to get pressure on this defensive line. I think everyone knows that. And I think this guy, probably has more sacks, probably double sacks than our whole defensive line. And that's Yannick Ngakoue. I don't know if I said that correct. But yeah, he was just recently on the Colts. I don't think he played with, it was just for this year. So he did not play with Matt Eberflus. But yeah, played 4 years on Jacksonville, went to Baltimore, and then played for the Raiders a little bit. And, double-digit sacks with the Raiders, and then 8.5 sacks so far this year for the Colts. And yeah, it's just that production just gets me so excited. He's out there for 80% of the snaps, which was something I was looking for at the defensive end position, is having someone that can play both sides of the ball. When they're able to play that many snaps, they're not just a pass rusher. They can also run stuff. So I thought this was kind of like not a no-brainer, but I was like, this is going to be a huge guy to get. Obviously, he's pretty pricey. He's going to be around like 14 million for this year, for the first year. So yeah, that's my number 1, Brad. I don't know what you think about it, but I just think we need to get this pass rush going and I think this is a good start for him.
I like it. I actually had no idea that he had that many sacks. I was looking at grades and stuff and going off of like what you're talking about with the both sides, maybe we get somebody that's more of a run stuffer because I'm looking at his PFF grades. Yet again, not everything in the world. He has a 41 run defense grade and
Ooh,
28 last year and 45 the year before. But you're right. 11 sacks. PFF charts him with 11 this year, 10 last year. I like that. I like the idea, and maybe you pair him up with someone else too, like I was mentioning. But yeah, this edge group, I'm not a huge fan of really because Lorenzo Carter,
mhm.
Davion Clowney is pretty good. Marcus Davenport is probably going to command a pretty penny. Samson Ebukam, Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, Draymond Jones, Yannick Ngakwe, Charles Amenahu, JJ Watt, and O'Shane Jimenez. And you were joking about it beforehand. We were saying if this was the class, like a lot of these players on this D line, if this was the class like a couple years ago, it
Yeah.
would be great. But
Yes.
this year, not so much. But I like that. I like that. Get to the quarterback, get someone, especially in this defense. You need somebody to do that. So
Mhm.
um, I I like it. I think it's a very interesting piece. And honestly, for 14 mil, that's not terrible for somebody that can rush the passer. And what I love about that too is when you have this extra money, that is a luxury that I feel I'm okay for us to spend on, right?
Oh, yeah,
You can get someone
completely.
that's more of a run stuffer and just pay them a decent amount, but then you pay extra for this pass rush specialist. So I really like that. I didn't
Yeah.
have him on my list. I actually want to add him, but I won't for the sake of us going through more defensive players because Lord knows we need defensive players. So I'm going to go with a interesting player because I think that he fits. I think this player fits the whole scheme very well. I'm going Jamel Dean, cornerback from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow.
I
I
like
like it.
I like Jamel Dean. He's what? I think he's 6'2", and has some decent size. And what I like, yet again, he's got the size to play in the system. He's been a good cornerback for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Also looking at spotrac.com, his average annual salary, they're projecting him getting a 3-year, $26 million contract, which is 8.7 million. That is a steal, in my opinion, for a very
Yeah.
good young corner. He's only 26 years old. Like I said, good size, should be able to play very well. I really like it. Some other comps are around 12 million, so I think he gets probably more in that 12 million rather than the projected about 9. But still, I think he's a great fit. And Kindle Vildor, like you were talking about PayPal, I think Vildor is a perfect backup, right? That
Mhm.
he can come in and play decent, but I think he's a perfect backup that even though corner, it seems like we got a lot of players and it shouldn't be a need. I like the idea of bringing in Jamel Dean as your starting corner, and then you can figure out what you want to do with Jalen Johnson, but you have somebody that can lock down the other side, and you tell Kyler Gordon, you're a slot corner, focus on that.
I agree, Brett. Yeah, that I was shocked when you said that because I saw him. He's kinda, like, on my list too of, like he's a good corner, yeah, and, like, I just looked at yeah, he's not valued that high too, which is awesome
Yeah.
because I mean, some of the corners I was looking at is, they can get up to $16 million instead of that 9 million. Um, so I guess, yeah, we'll see if they're willing to spend even more, but hey, Jamal, yeah, 26, young guy. Why
This is
not?
where I'm like, spend the money, right? On the defense,
Yeah.
I'm like, spend the money, draft some people. And so that's kind of how I'm feeling. But PayPal, who's your number two?
My number two, Brad, we're gonna stick with the team's biggest need in the defensive tackle,
Okay.
Deron Payne.
Okay.
I don't think that
Okay.
surprises anyone. Deron Payne, honestly, this should have been my number one. I wish I could go back and switch it. He gets me so excited just talking about him. Because at the D tackle spot, Brad, he had 8.5 sacks. That's the same as Yannick Ngakwe, who like we think 8.5 sacks is a lot, but that's an end. this is a freaking D tackle.
Yeah.
So, Brad, yeah, he's incredible. We see it when he's just playing on the Washington football team, Commanders, whatever you want to call him. Just very aggressive. He's a young player. We're gonna have to, break the bank with him, unfortunately. But he's not going to be as expensive as a Javon Hargrave. I was looking at Javon Hargrave. He's going to be probably after Super Bowl. He's going to want the bank. He wants everything. And he's a little bit older. So they're on Payne. Give him a big contract. Hopefully we can kind of back end that contract so we don't have to pay up front as much.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's a great player and would be awesome to get that young guy on our team.
I love it. And honestly, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to try and not copy your guys just because
I love it.
It makes me be easier because then I can just add people. So it's really going to turn into a list of 10.
Yeah.
And we're going to have that. But building off of that, Javon Hargrave, like you said, 30 years old. I felt the same way. I saw that he was available. I'm like, oh man, but 20 million?
Yeah.
To me, Hargrave is not worth that money, and he's really good, but that's Aaron Donald level. And he's still very, 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 very good, but he's not worth that. And why not get a Daron Payne who actually plays a lot from the nose tackle position? He's a big guy, and he's able, like you said, he's able to rack up sacks like crazy. I love it. We've talked about it before. 25 years old. Get him. Bring him in. He's going to be able to rush the passer, and you're just building a pass rush unit.
Yes.
Love it.
That's all. That was my biggest takeaway from last game was our secondary, honestly, I don't want to say shut down but they kind of shut down the Packers wide receivers. And then it was that first touchdown, it was like 8 seconds Aaron Rodgers had, some crazy amount of time. And that just seemed when every play was that went well was when they had like 5+ seconds of time. And it's like, that's just unacceptable. And we just need to fix that on this defense. So,
yeah, I love it. For my number 2, I'm going to stick with the D tackles. And I just want to mention this. This defensive tackle group is deep. There's Zach Allen, Fletcher Cox, Poona Ford, Javon Hargrave, Akeem Hicks, Matt Ioannidis, David Onyemata, Daron Payne, Sheldon Rankins, Jerron Reed, Ashawn Robinson, Dalvin Tomlinson, and also I saw that there's a handful. There's so many available that it seems you could just reinforce this entire defensive tackle group, which I'm excited about. The edge group, a little bit more weak, but D tackles, this is where, like, thinking about Jalen Carter, I'm like, that's why I like Will Anderson more, because then you get the edge guy, because there's a lot of D tackles, and I'm going D tackle for number 2. I'm going Dalvin Tomlinson as my guy to get.
I love it. I love it. He was my second. He was like, if we want to spend less money, he's like perfect.
And that's me. I'm spending less money. His projection is 3 years, 25 million. He's going to be 29. So you're getting him towards the tail end. But one thing to keep in mind too, D tackles go to like their 35, 34. They have a longer shelf life than other positions. So I'm feel comfortable giving him that. And another fun fact, this guy is graded above 74 in PFF every single year for 6 years straight. This guy just produces, and he plays for the Vikings. Before, he was always playing a 5 tech. So more of that, not your classic 3 tech, right? The Tommy Harris pass rusher. This year, he has been that and been a little bit of a better pass rusher. He shows he can do both, but I like it because he really solidifies that 5 tech. And then you could go big with the 3 tech, or you could go with the Jalen Carter, depending on where we're at, and really kind of highlight that guy with a Dalvin Tomlinson that can play both sides in a very solid D tackle for a very solid and modest price.
Yeah, he was like that second guy I was looking at, because he was always one of those guys on the Giants. I would like just watch him, and something about having that big, just like fat guy at the D tackle spot. It's like,
Yeah.
how does someone move that? Like, how does he move that quick at that fat?
Yeah.
He's an animal. So I love that pick. And like, if they do want to spend more money, what if they choose kind of your end of like stuff, it's like then maybe they can spend more money on like the linebackers or if they want to really ball out and get a corner. So it's
Yeah.
exciting stuff, Brad.
It's exciting. Just flying through this, going through. It's been going well. PayPal, who's number 3? Gotta
So
know.
I spent a little money on my first two. So this is my one to spend a little less. This
Okay.
guy, he just got off is kind of his contract. Like he got re-signed just for 1 year to see if he kind of plays out and does well. And that is Leighton Vander
I
Esch.
knew it. As soon as you
Yes.
said that, I was like, I knew it.
It's Leighton. There's a
Love
lot
it.
of linebackers, Brad, that I honestly were like big fans of just kind of coming out and like they're fat. I looked at like Deion Jones, like he's fast. Devin Bush, very fast guy. Anthony Walker. And I always thought the fast linebackers were kind of that next big thing. But after seeing Jack Sanborn,
There
Brad,
we go.
I'm not about these just fast guys running around. I want this like smart player and something about Vander Esch. I always like that little neck,
The neck
the,
roll. Yeah.
the neck roll thing. That thing, if he was wearing that at Chicago Bear, I could just see that on like the Monsters of the Midway like t-shirt or something with him on there, and would be fabulous right next to our boy Jack Sanborn. I just run stuffing, and he's obviously not the quickest, but he knows what he's doing. Smart IQ, and yeah, I really like Vander Esch, and he's not as expensive as kind of these high market guys like a Trayman Edmonds.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Where Tremaine Edmonds, you look at the linebacker class, you went through a lot of it. Alex Anzalone, Cody Barton, Levante David, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Rashawn Evans, Deion Jones, David Long, Bobby Okereke, Alex Singleton, Roquan Smith, Drew Tranquil, and Leighton Vander Esch. So you have a lot of good players that are available. And Okereke, in this list, it says Okereke, but I don't know if he's actually a player because if he is, oh, he is actually. Okay. Well, I totally missed that. Um, um, I didn't know that he was actually going to be out there. So
Oh,
honestly, I'm gonna I I'm gonna just segue right into this. I was looking for linebackers, and like I said, I did want to copy you because I had Leighton Vander Esch as well as one of my guys. I really like him. Bobby Okereke's only projected to get about um like I think they say only 3
yeah,
million.
yeah, 2.3 million.
Yeah, did he get injured? Like, what happened to him? Did he die? Like, what what happened? I gotta look this up.
Yeah, did he face the Lions and they tore off his kneecap or something?
No, he's grading well. Like, I'm looking at his PFF stuff too. He's grading pretty well. It looks like he just had some down years, 2021, 2022. I'm going Bobby Okereke, right? I'm
Oh,
saying bring him back in. That's a good player. That's a good player. He's having a good year. And if you can bring him in with Coach Flus, oh, Bobby Okereke with Jack Sanborn, hey,
oh
pal,
yeah.
hey, Leighton
And
Vander
Brad, with
Esch
with how
with the
cheap
neck
he's
roll.
yeah, I was gonna say with how cheap he's going, you could sign Vander Esch as well.
Yeah,
Like instead of signing like a Levante David or
yeah.
if he really wanted to get Roquan Smith, I doubt we would be able to even get him.
It
He's gonna get re-signed.
For comedy purposes, getting Roquan Smith would be hysterical, right? Like you pick him up and you're like, yeah, thanks for the second round pick, dudes.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But he's still projected 17 mil. That's so much. But if you can get an Okereke and a Vander Esch, right, for real cheap in that middle. And here's the big thing, too. It's the Mike Singletary effect. No offense, Mike Singletary. That D line for the Bears, that made your job easy. And
Mhm.
if you spend all this money on D linemen, then your linebacker should have an easier job. Okereke is a good, rangy player that can play well in coverage. And Sanborn is showing that he's better in coverage. Van Der Esch is a good player in coverage. I really like that. Now it makes your linebackers' jobs a lot easier. Man, PayPal, we're building a nice quality Super Bowl team right here.
Really, we
And we're
really
not
are.
breaking the bank. The only person we're not breaking the bank here. We're just saying here's some nice, good contracts you can sign. I'm liking this. So
It's crazy
Okereke,
how much we can sign. Like, looking at this and
yeah.
then looking at our past episode, it's like, wow, we can really get a lot of players. We can
And what's
sign, like, everyone.
what's nuts too is it's like it's a multi-year deal. So it's usually a lot less up front, and then it goes more and more and more. And that's how a lot of agents like to structure that as well. So I
Yeah.
like it. I like what we're doing right now. PayPal, let's continue this Super Bowl run. Who is your fourth defensive free agent?
My 4th defensive free agent, this is kinda along your route of the cornerbacks. I did Rock Ya-Sin,
Okay,
former
he was on my
Flues.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
former Flues guy. He's not going for too much. He's, young guy that we could sign for a long, bigger contract. Definitely a lot more comfortable having him as the number 2 corner than a Kindle Vildor. Um, Rock Ya-Sin definitely, you know, I think with that Flues connection and just having, he didn't get any interceptions this year, unfortunately, but he's one of those guys, good tackler, can play in coverage. He's playing 82% of the snaps, so he's out there. And yeah, this is tough for me because I like spending a lot of money on this corner. Like on the cornerback position. I want to get another lockdown corner
yeah,
alongside
agreed.
Jalen Johnson. So I was kind of thinking Emmanuel Mosley a little
Yeah,
bit, but I was thinking he's just a little too overpriced, especially he is coming off an ACL injury. So it's like spending so much money on someone that's like unsure is just not smart.
I agree. I had Mosley on my list as a question mark because, yeah, I think they were projecting him 17 million, which just seems outrageous, right?
Yeah.
He's a good player, but he's not that good. Even healthy, I don't know if he's that good. And you're talking about, I was just bringing up Jamel Dean. He's not that much better than a Jamel Dean. And
Yeah.
he's a good player, but now he's coming off of an injury. So I'm curious if he's going to have a lower contract. Someone maybe gets him a 1-year deal. But yeah, when you look at a lot of the defensive backs, Jesse Bates, Von Bell, I don't have corners and safeties. They're all together. Anthony Brown, James Bradbury, Jamel Dean, Terrell Edmonds, Mike Edwards, Rashad Fenton, Mike Hughes, Jonathan Jones, Emmanuel Mosley, Byron Murphy, Sean Murphy Bunting, Jordan Poyer, Cameron Sutton, Greedy Williams, and Rock Ya-Sin. So
And he's got the coolest name ever. So
it is.
having a Rock Ya-Sin jersey would be pretty sick. And two, I was thinking, Patrick Peterson would not be too bad. I mean, he's having a good year for being, you know, almost 33 years old. He's
Yeah.
creating turnovers and playing pretty well for the Vikings. But Rock Ya-Sin, I've always liked him. I know even when he first came out, he was playing pretty, he was playing well. So yeah, I would love to give him a shot.
Jeez. So right now it's hard for me because I'm thinking like, who do I add? I actually have something at the end I'm going to propose. It's my fifth one. You're not going to want to miss it. It is going to be epic. And I want to bring this up because it's not necessarily something I would do. Maybe a little bit, but we'll go through that next. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that right now. I'm
Do
going to
it.
do that right now because then my last pick will be something that you don't have because I guarantee you will not have this one.
Okay.
My fourth free agent, Jesse Bates, safety from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Interesting.
Hear me out here, right? Hear me out. I love Bojack. I would be slightly pissed, but I would laugh because I would call it. We know that Ryan Poles has no soul, right? He is a robot that just says, screw emotion, we're going to go with the numbers. This would be a perfect numbers move for him. Right now, Jesse Bates is projected, according to Spot Rack, about $10 million a year, or 10.6. Right now, Eddie Jackson, next year, he's going to get paid $17 million and then $18 million. He is an enormous cap hit for the Chicago Bears. If they cut him next year, they save $7 million. He's also turning 30. And that is the magical number, especially for athletic, like speedy positions where you start to fade. He also has a foot injury. So the Bears might be saying, hey, we can get this 26-year-old Jesse Bates for $10 million. And now we have Jaquan Brisker and Jesse Bates as our young safeties to lead this team. It's a bold move. I don't even like saying it, but it would be it could be a really smart move to get young and save money, get young, and arguably get better.
Yeah, you convinced me, Brett. I was pretty good. I was like, where is he gonna go with
Right?
this? I
Method
think
to
the one
madness.
thing for me is like Eddie Jackson. He showed that he now is he's the leader, and Jalen Johnson are the leaders of this team.
Yeah,
So it's like, do they want to get those guys out of here now? I think it would break a lot of that chemistry, and
that's my
they
feeling
already
too.
had Roquan Smith leave. They already had these, Robert Quinn, and it's just, would they want those guys to leave as well? And that's one thing it would be kind of bad to see that. Especially Brisker just seems like, Eddie
Totally.
Jackson and Brisker are just like locked on. They are best buds. Well, not best buds, but they are creating something. So
Totally. That's why I wanted to bring it up, and I hate saying it because literally this guy's doing everything. And you
yeah,
hear
yeah,
he's asking
yeah.
all the coaches, he's talking to all the coaches. And yeah, if Ryan Poles does this, he has no soul. And it would be a smart move for the future, and maybe you're just trying to get rid of everybody, so you bring in your guys to just try and right the ship, so to speak, and bring this around. But it's better because you get younger you get younger, you get cheaper, you get everything. So
Mhm.
you're probably not going to keep Eddie Jackson for the remainder of his contract because it's hard with cap numbers of 18 and 17 when safeties just don't get paid that crazy. So
Mhm.
he had a great year. Like we said, we loved him out there. And yeah, it's just a thought. It's definitely that wasn't one like I'm like, you got to do. I just wanted to bring it up and rock the boat a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I think
PayPal, now that I'm, yeah.
yeah, Gardner Johnson would be even pretty
Oh
fun to
God.
have too, for really talking safeties.
so yeah, so let's go PayPal. Who is your last one?
So I just want to have a really, this is a quick little before the fifth. This is like kind of honorable mention. I
Okay.
think it'd be fun if we had Terrell Edmonds and then also
Yeah.
Tremaine Edmonds. Like, just, you know, we're all about brothers on this podcast,
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
so
Brotherhood.
yeah. Yeah, we're all about brotherhood. So it'd be kind of fun if we just had all the, you know, Edmonds out there. But
Gotcha.
yeah, my fifth, and I don't know if this is gonna be a shock for you, Brad, but JJ Watt. JJ Watt's my fifth,
Oh,
kind of like out of the ordinary. He would be one of those guys that we add with the additions that I said before. Like, he's not gonna be one of those guys like, okay, JJ Watt, he's gonna change this defensive line. He's gonna be someone that we add with two or three other guys.
okay.
Um, he brings in leadership. He is from Wisconsin. We all know that, Jack Sanborn connection.
Oh, you better believe
Uh,
it.
and he loves his spotted cow, so he wants to be closer to Wisconsin. He's getting older. I feel like that's like a thing when players get older, they want to move closer to their hometown.
Yeah,
His wife plays for Chicago, the Chicago
it's true.
soccer team. So why wouldn't he just want to come up to Chicago for probably his last year or two and be closer to home and his girl and his wife? So
I like
it,
it.
I love him just as a person. Like he great locker room guy. He doesn't have to produce the most, but he's still producing too. So it's just that injury. Like don't play him too much. Just
Yeah. And it's like what we said before early on. It's the defensive ends, right? The edges, they're older. And you can find a lot of these older edges come play for you and do well. JJ, yeah, I like it because one of my edges, I'm actually not going to make this my official fifth one because Brandon Graham would be my fifth. And I think they on Spot Rack, he's projected 3.5, I believe it was. Like
hmm,
real cheap. And Brandon Graham is really good. He's 34. He's going to be 35, but he's has no signs of slowing down. I like it, right? You could even
yeah,
bring back Robert Quinn if you really wanted to. I actually heard rumors that he loved Chicago so much that he might come back because they're probably going to cut him after
that'd
this
be
year, like they
awesome.
basically guaranteed. So, you know what? I'm gonna go Robert Quinn. Screw it. We're going
Really?
Robert Quinn.
Wow.
We're bringing back the boy. We're bringing him back. And just for cheap, right? To pass rush. But the person who I was gonna say, and probably might be a better choice, Justin Houston. The guy continues to get it done. Pass rusher, like we were talking about, kind of that pass rush specialist that you can bring in at a pretty good price, and be able to play. Now, I will bring this up just because we're kind of at time with the edges. Some might be thinking, what about Marcus Davenport, guys? He's really good. That he's projected, let me just pull that up. I think it's 23 million.
Whew. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 so let me just see that real quick let me just see. It is Davenport.
Yeah, he's projected 23 million.
Yeah,
And it's one of those things we do have the money to spend, but we could spend all of our money like around the whole entire team like we've kind of been discussing. If we have like all these guys that we talk about, then we can spend, a lot in the linebackers. We can spend basically completely redo the defensive line and put a new corner in and do
yeah.
our offense. We can do all that. So, instead of just wasting money on one guy.
And here's the thing too, 23 million is more than what Khalil Mack was making. Is he
Oh,
better than Khalil Mack? No. Like, he's not a game wrecker. The reason why he's so high up is because pass rushers are getting paid like crazy. And to me, I just don't like the idea of signing someone that big for that much, especially since he's more of a backup there anyways. Like,
yeah.
he's not playing as the true starter or as the true game wrecker. When you think of the Saints, you don't go, "Oh, Marcus Davenport," right? You don't think that. You think of Cam Jordan. You think of Drew Brees, even though he's still not there. He's
Yeah.
not the game wrecker like it. Give I'll give that money to Nick Bosa, but I'm not giving that money to Marcus Davenport. And I think that's why he's not on the list. There's there's so many vets that you could get, but I think the moral of the story here when we're talking about our edges, it's a lot of these veterans that you can hopefully bring in, give you a little bit more pass rush. I was even thinking Jadaveon Clowney just because when you're talking about it, like we were saying, there's a lot of good pass rush specialists. You pair Jadaveon Clowney, who is a phenomenal run defender on the edge, with a good pass rusher like
Mhm.
a Yannick Ngakoue. Now you say, Yannick, you are, or Robert Quinn, right? Robert Quinn, we just need you to rush the passer on third down. And
Yeah.
Jadavion is just going to hold it down. Jadavion was on my list, but I got too excited about everything. So that's where I like Jadaveon Clowney too. If you can, and what's nice is it seems like you could pull him away from a Cleveland now that Cleveland kind of sucks. So
Yep.
yeah, but that's the 10, right? We wanted to go switch it up a little bit. Tell us what you think. There's so many out there. This is such a fun exercise. We're going to be doing this later on when it's actually the off season. Wanted to have a little bit of fun this preseason. So, or this during the season, during the bye week. So everyone, thank you so much. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to go to betus.com and use promo code unbearable for 125% back on your first deposit. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we're out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's